Nakuru, where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has returned public properties to the county governments of Nakuru and Bomet. EACC says property and land which was previously grabbed is valued at more than R1 billion shillings. The anti-graft body says it's still pursuing more cases of grabbed public assets. Our Nakuru correspondent Bridget Ngana covered the handover ceremony and now joins us live from Nakuru with the report on the details. Bridget, we spoke earlier around 11 and he said this is one of the things they were doing. So where else have they set their eyes on?
Well, we have just concluded the EACC workshop that was involving the handing over of title deeds, recovered title deeds of public properties that had been grabbed earlier on, and the CEO, Mr. Twalib Barak, has been here and he has spoken over the need for cooperation between the county governments and other public service institutions that have had instances of their properties being grabbed, and they would like them to come on board and raise their concerns and also work together with the commission to ensure that this country is rid of corruption. But I'm going to speak with the CEO, and one of the questions that has been emerging is that there's a clamor that EACC now should be handling economic crimes, because now the DCC seems to be, a section of politicians feel that the DCC is really not obligated to do that. What do you think about that? Is EACC a lesser office in terms of dealing with people who have been implicated in corruption?
I think that is a misconception and is something that is just being politicized. We need to understand one thing, that EACC, DCI and other government agencies, we operate jointly on many issues to deal with economic crimes, and we have what we call the multi-agency team, and we harmonize and direct our activities. And for me, there is nothing wrong for the DCI to conduct investigation on economic crime, because they have a wider mandate in the Constitution that they are in charge of all kind of crimes, and that one automatically also puts economic crime. And when you talk of EACC being a lesser organization, there is nothing like that. We handle cases, they do help us with a lot of information, we help them with a lot of information, and we had noted before that there was an element of duplication, but as at now, through the multi-agency team, we coordinate our activities. So there is no division or making EACC a lesser organization than DCI, or making a DCI as a politically induced organization. They are within the mandate and we are within the mandate.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Twalib, today you've recovered property valued more than R1 billion shillings. Maybe can you be specific? We understand it's about in the figure of the range of more than 780 million shillings, and there are 11 properties in 2 counties. Tell us how you went about that.
You know, there was a time in this country where there was, I think, abuse by state and public officers in allocation of land. And that went further to the extent that some public land, including those of institutional, like Ministry of Health, schools, Calro, were grabbed and allocated to individual people. So part of our strategy is on asset tracing and asset recovery. And it is out of this that we managed to identify pieces of land in Nakuru, which include prime land in the Kenya Agricultural Livestock Research Organization, which was grabbed by an individual who was, I think, very influential during the KANU time, and a number of areas in Nakuru town. So there was a 3-type of approach. There is one property that is about 45 million shillings, that is in Nakuru town, where we were engaged in a court battle with the person who allocated himself. This was a senior civil servant in the lands ministry during KANU time, and we managed to succeed in that case, and that land has reverted to the county. Then we have pieces of land in, like the Calro land, that individual accepted to enter into negotiation to surrender that land to the institution after realizing that with EACC locking on him, he had no option but to surrender the land. So we took him through, and we took the land back, repossessed the title, and today we handed over that title back to Calro. We still have quite a number of pieces of land all over the country that are in the wrong hands, and we urge the media, we urge the public, we urge institutions that have been affected to come to EACC. EACC is more than willing to assist them to ensure that that land reverts back to the rightful owner.
Maybe Mr. Mbarak, you can tell us, why have you shied away from mentioning names of those who've been implicated in this grabbing of land?
Yeah, I think that is a very tricky question, but I'll tell you one of the reasons. Following court process is quite long. The plot in Nakuru, where we were engaged in a court process with the allotee, it took about 11 years. So we usually convince these people that, can you accept the alternative dispute resolution? And one of the advantage of the alternative dispute resolution, there'll be an element of privacy where we don't mention your name, we don't involve you in court process. So out of that goodwill, we feel that it will be not good for us to mention names of those individuals, because they came in good faith and said, okay, I got this land because I was a senior government officer at that time, and it was like more of a norm during those days for people to grab, but I don't want any controversy. I understand this land belongs to a public institution, and as a Kenyan, I am more than willing to surrender. So we also need to reciprocate and tell people, look, when you come for ADR, even EACC will become a little bit friendlier to you and avoid things like mentioning your name and denting your reputation.
And maybe will you institute legal proceedings against these people, or you just release them the minute they hand over the titles?
Normally we don't opt for legal proceeding, because actually we are avoiding the legal proceeding because it is too long and too cumbersome. Not because we are shielding these people, but we find it a little bit longer and cumbersome, and we are stretched as an institution. So most of the time we will not opt for that, because we don't have time and the capacity sometimes and the resources that you imply. As long as you have achieved what you want, we think we are better off with that way.
Thank you so much. That was the CEO of the EACC, Mr. Twalib Mbarak, and he was here together with other commissioners from the EACC to just hand over title deeds of grabbed public land. Land constituted a huge chunk of the properties that had been grabbed, and we do understand it ranges from land to public housing and also land allocated for public use. For example, in Bomet County, more than 2 parcels of land had been grabbed, and this land was initially meant for the building of a stadium. I'll be following up on this story, among other revelations, Ken, during this workshop that has seen county governments receive title deeds to the lands that had been grabbed in their jurisdictions, Ken.